I remember over 8 years ago, I had just completed my BSc and graduated with a first-class degree. And shortly after, I paid a friend a visit. And upon getting there, I met one of their family friends who was high up in governance. Now, having known me for years and finding out that I graduated with a first-class degree, he made a statement that will forever change the trajectory of my financial life. He said, "Shola, my only issue is that intelligent people like you never end up making so much money in life." And then I looked at him and I told myself, my case is gonna be different. So in this video, I wanna show you how I moved from being a supposed nerd who couldn't make any money to making several millions. So join me. Hi there, I'm Olushola and I give practicable wisdom. If it's your very first time listening to me, I must say you've been missing out on a whole lot. Where have you been? Anyways, it's not too late. So welcome home. It's a good time for me to say that you should kindly click on the subscribe button. I'm waiting. All right, thank you. As a 19-year-old fresh out of school graduate, I had that encounter with that man who definitely down the years had an impression that very intelligent people or maybe book smart people do not end up becoming, financially successful. Well, I wouldn't really blame him because maybe, just maybe, a lot of book smart people have set that precedence in the past. And another thing that came to mind during that period was the popular Robert Kiyosaki book that goes why A students work for C students and why B students work for the government. And there just happened to be so many tantrums thrown in the direction of A students. I wouldn't really know if it's just a case of people who maybe not really do so well academically, trying to pitch people who might have performed academically as people who are, restricted in their thinking to the academic terrain. Oh well, these were the issues that maybe the man must have been exposed to at some point. All right, so I just told myself that I was doing all of these not necessarily to prove him wrong, but to prove myself right as someone who is intellectually dexterous and versatile enough to thrive on several terrains. So I told myself first and foremost, and this is the very important tool, it's that I'm not just going to be somebody who is known for academic exploits, but somebody who can translate that excellence, into the real world. And this is one thing that many nerds or perceived nerds simply need to understand. Because, for example, I didn't perceive myself as a nerd. I always felt I was good with people. I always felt I lived a balanced life to a very great extent. However, this advice, has its practicality for many of you who might even be nerds. The goal is to first and foremost understand that true knowledge is not just a knowledge that thrives in the arena of your mind alone or in your mental capacity, okay? Or true knowledge is not just something that you should have and maybe be able to pen down on an exam paper or a sheet or anything like that. True knowledge should find its roots in the practicality in the real world, because really that's why it is knowledge. Okay, focus more, on the practicals and not just the theory. So I'll tell you that was the very first thing I had to do. I had to understand that all that I know about business, all that I know about, sociology, all the theoretizing that I've done, every single thing has got to find practical fulfillment in my day. And then this will mean that you're going to have to embrace some given level of street smartness. Okay, it's not just enough to know the business landscape in sub-Saharan Africa on paper. Street smartness will involve translating what you know on paper to the real world. So these were the things that I had to ensure that I put in place, and those things I surely did. So I told myself, I said, I'm not just going to be someone who will know. I have to be somebody who will do. So the real work is in the doing. So it is in trying to make practical all the knowledge that you have that the real work lies. So I had to step by step, day by day, try to do that. So the next thing I had to do is see money as a tool. Now, this is extremely important because growing up, as somebody who was just fascinated about the thrill of knowledge, knowing things and all, I never was fascinated about making money. I just never really saw the point. What excited me the most was knowing stuff, being able to profess solutions to people's problems, at least from a theoretical perspective. So I never really was particular about making money. I just felt like, money was there to be made, that I could make it if I really wanted. Well, yeah, but I never really was particular about it. But then translating it to the practical context, after that conversation with that man at the time, I found out that for me to truly do the things that I love, I might have to do some of the things that I really do not love 100%. What do I mean? I'm going to have to do whatever it takes to ensure that the things I really want to do are properly financed. Are you getting this? So what money becomes to me in this sense is a tool to ensure that all the things and all my very passions and the things that really excite me come to life. And let me tell you something, no matter how interesting or how brilliant your ideas might be, without financial capital and human capital, but in this case, financial capital, they will never come to fruition. So a lot of things will still bother around money. So I had to see money as a tool. So I wanted money to ensure that I was able to, finance my goals and see all that I really hold dear, come to life. So in that case, I knew that putting my energy and my mind into highly profitable enterprises was going to make the most sense. And then the very next thing that helped me transition was that I had to learn to fail forward. Now, this is very important because as an academic, as somebody who was so used to acing all his papers, getting all the A's and, being so smart at school, my very first major introduction to failure was in the real world of business. Right after school, I knew that I did not want to do what people call a white-collar 9-to-5 job. So I turned down a job opportunity with one of the leading banks in the country, right? Time and again, I said I wasn't going to go there. Despite having passed through some of the recruitment processes, I just said I wasn't going to do anymore, So one of the very first things I did at the time was that I joined a multi-level marketing enterprise, a business idea. And then I did that for a while. I just didn't love it. Now, it's not that I had a problem, marketing, because I believe I can sell anything to anybody. I can sell coffee to a dead man. I'm that good when it comes to sales, right? But I just didn't like it. Then it didn't go the way I wanted. And I would say I failed at it. And to be very honest, right, I'm not one of those few people who is scared of using the word failure, okay? Failure is not final, it's not fatal, right? It's as I had to learn to fail forward. Right after that, I went into some digital currency sales and everything. That worked. I made quite a few quid and all, but it still didn't end up going the way I wanted. So I had to learn to fail forward. That's another thing. The average nerd or the average person who is used to academic exploits might find a very serious issue with failing in the real world because they're not used to getting the F's but rather the A's. So I had to learn to fail forward. So I saw failure as an opportunity to try again. I saw failure as something that is not the final receipt, is not the final statement of everything. I just saw failure as something that is a temporary setback. Okay, that's one thing. So I had to do what I call a proper mindset shift. I had to tell myself that every time I fail at something, it's an opportunity to go again, but this time re-strategize and ensure that the previous knowledge, is used in a more positive way. So I see failure this way. When I fail, it is one knowledge gained. Are you getting that? So very important. So I had to learn to fail forward. And then right after that, the next thing I had to learn was how to do it afraid. Oh, I can't say this enough. Every single thing that I've built that has been worthwhile. So for example, I currently have, and I say this with every sense of modesty, about 5 to 6 streams of income, right? I found out that pretty much every single one of these streams of income, I've had to start them afraid. Just do it afraid. You will never have every single thing figured out in any venture that you're going to have to do. So hold on. I said I saw money as a tool. It has a translation to this because what I really wanted to do was impact structures, systems, build things that would ensure people thrive, right? To do that effectively, one of the smartest ways was to build a business. So I had to become entrepreneurial. I'm not saying every single nerd that wants to become a millionaire has to be entrepreneurial, but for me, I had to do that. So in entrepreneurship, I had to build different streams of income. The streams of income would then transmogrify into streams of income for other people. Because for those streams to be streams for me, they have to, by the way and in the process, have yielded some form of economic gain for other people also, because that's how the system works. So yes, I had to do every single one of those things afraid. Every single business I've ever had to start, I had to do it afraid. I had to tell myself, that I might not have everything figured out. I'm going to have to learn to fail in the process till I figure it out. So that's another thing. Many of you are waiting for perfection. You're waiting for perfect instances, for you to be able to do one thing or do another. No, you will never have anything perfect. All the stars might never get to align at the same time. So you're going to have to ensure you do it afraid. So I did it afraid. Every single thing I did, from the speaking you see me do, from starting my YouTube channel, from building an Instagram community, I had to do every single thing afraid. It started by telling my friend, you know what, come, let's record. It started by scribbling some thoughts to paper. Every single business that you see me start, it started by saying, okay, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. There's a market for this. I put the good to fit and solve these market problems. And this is exactly why we are here at this point in time. And then finally, what took me from nerd to millionaire, I would say, is that I had to learn to build systems. I had to learn to build systems. When you learn to build systems, then you've gotten to, do I say, the apex of dream building. It's one thing for you to build a business that can cater for you. It's another thing for you to build a business that can cater for you and other people. And it's another thing for you to build a business that can thrive independent of you. And that's what I'm talking systems. So systems will simply, in this sense, mean that I've learned to build things where every single part are fitly framed together and affect one another. Okay, so I learned to build systems with every single one of my businesses. The very first thing I had to learn is structuring. The goal or the path to building sustainable wealth and moving from supposed nerd to someone who makes millions is first and foremost to see every single business that you build as bigger than yourself. You have to move from trying to make a name for yourself to trying to build a proper legacy. Okay, and then your businesses can be your legacy. So this involves a lot. It also involves, detaching yourself to a given extent emotionally from your business and trying to focus on the facts. Okay, also it's going to have to involve a lot of leadership and delegation, trusting other people to do what you could have done. Okay, they might not get it right initially. It also has to involve other things like scaling and doing so many things. However, in all, I had to learn to build systems. I'm going to have to do maybe a separate video on how I learned to build systems around my businesses, or how I build systems around my life also. How to build business systems around my life. Okay, you have to create a structure in such a way that every single thing seems detailed and planned, so things can thrive concurrently. That's what systems help you do. So that was the way I was able to transition, from being a 19-year-old academic genius to now a 27, 28-year-old. I don't like to call myself a millionaire, but yeah, someone who makes that kind of money. Yeah, so I really do hope that to a very given extent I've been able to expose my mind a bit to you and let you see how I was able to make that transition. And I really do hope that when I get to see that man anytime soon, he will look back and smile and say he was wrong. All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for all the effort you put into watching this. I'd like to kindly request that you like this video, and if you haven't subscribed, kindly click on the subscribe button so this video can get to so many more people. All right, thank you so much for doing this with me, and I'm signing out. But before I do so, I like to end the way that we know how to end, and I like to use this word, and it goes, Ireo. All right, see you in the next video. Thank you.